just like innovation is one of those buzzwords that frequently gets used, but really resilience is about the ability to withstand these acute shocks and chronic stresses that are impacting our city, and also have to somewhat of a disproportionate impact on the vulnerable populations in particular. So flooding, of course, is a big one. Also climate change, growing impact of that, as I mentioned, is very real and present. But we take a broad view of resilience, everything from economic resilience, transportation resilience, public safety, infrastructure, housing, you name it. If it's something that impacts our daily lives and that impact us in the future, we want to be able to address it. We want to be able to address it head on and before it becomes a crisis, and be prepared for it. So I want to make sure that everyone sees the Resilient Houston plan that we published last year. It's a living document that outlines 64 actions that just a roadmap for how we as a city should become safer, smarter, and more resilient. And it's really the North Star to our innovation work. So we're doing all of our smart city work that we're doing, where we're using data analytics and technology to improve the city. Those efforts are all aligned to the Resilient Houston plan and tie directly to one of those 64 actions. It's also a plan of plans, for lack of a better term, but it's it incorporates other important planning efforts that have happened in the city. Our climate action plan, in particular, Vision Zero plan, our plan to eliminate traffic fatalities by 2030, and there's a ton of others that I really just encourage everyone to look at the Resilient Houston plan. We actively seeking solutions to all of those problems that we surface in that plan. So I will say on the climate in particular, and Ephraim's going to probably speak to this a little bit later, but the mayor is very proactive when it comes to climate change. We were one of the first cities to sign on to the Paris Climate Agreement when the previous administration pulled out of it. Our mayor currently chairs the Climate Mayors, the group of 400 or so mayors that are actively seeking ways to address climate change, and so it's very important to us. If we in our decisions at City Hall, it percolates all of the decisions that we make at City Hall. For example, we are the largest municipal consumer of green energy. So I think we're almost up to 100%. I need to connect with our Chief Sustainability Officer, but we're getting close to 100% of the city's energy is pulled from renewable sources. So that's a very good thing. We're looking at ways to streamline materials management, reduce waste. We're looking at ways to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from transportation sources, which are really driving a lot of the greenhouse gas emissions in Houston. Certainly going to leading the way in the energy transition is really important for that. So there's just I think that everyone should look at the climate action plan as well as a good local source of information for what are the specific problems in Houston and what we're doing to address those problems, but specifically where are the gaps? Where can you all as civic innovators jump in to close some of the gaps and make information more readily available, look at data a different way in order to, encourage people to change their behaviors in a certain way, show how bad the problem is in certain areas, and really shine light on the problem. There's just a whole, genre of solutions that you can explore in climate action in particular that directly align with UN Sustainable Development Goals as well. So, but I do want to just finish up with a quick plug for some resources that might help guide you tonight. I'm not sure how far you are along the, this is the Alter Project night. We're talking about ideas, and we're pitching those projects to others and getting input. But some people are here just to hear ideas and see if they can contribute. So some resources to help you, guide you tonight or throughout your civic innovation journey. I'd say that there's GitHub repository of good project ideas, kind of shovel-ready civic innovation ideas that is on. It used to be on Sketch City's website. I know Jeff Reichman is here, and he might be able to post a link if you're around, Jeff, and listening to that GitHub idea repository. That's one good source of some ideas that people have left on the table, and you might find new inspiration from that. Actually, great news, just hired an enterprise data officer in the city that just last week.
All the thumbs up are coming up, Jesse.
What's that?
All the thumbs up are coming.
Oh, great. Yes, I see that. Oh, and then I just lost my screen. Hang on. There we are. So we're excited about that, as are all the thumbs and all that good stuff. So, and then, Rice has a good urban data platform with a lot of good research. Of course, the folks on this call are some of the best resources that you could ever come up, dream of. We've got, just too many to name over there. Everybody is, has a ton of ideas and really talented. And so just ping your neighbor. But I'm around, would love to hear ideas and, brainstorm with you. And, my information is on the screen, and just glad to be here. And thanks for coming.
Thanks so much, Jesse. That was super helpful. And I did see Jeff put the GitHub link in the chat. There was another question in the chat about a COVID-19 adjacent projects on any of the resources that you shared. So if you do have anything on that, yeah, perfect. Just drop them in the chat. Perfect. So now we're going to go ahead and move on to our next speaker. If you do want to chat with Jesse, he'll be around when we break back for networking. And so thank you so much. So now we'll have Rachel Powers, if you could please come up to the stage. Rachel is the executive director at the Citizens Environmental Coalition, and we're so excited to have you here today, Rachel. I'm going to go ahead and pass the floor over to you, and I'll monitor the chat in case any questions come through.
Well, thank you so much for having me here today. The Citizens Environmental Coalition just celebrated the 50th anniversary of its incorporation just a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, 50 years of connecting our environmental community. At the time, there were maybe two dozen organizations that were doing environmental work in the Houston region. And our founders couldn't keep up with who was doing what when. It's a perennial problem that's only been growing. But they started off by connecting the environmental community through publications and events. So we've had a newsletter off and on for 50 years, actually pretty consistently. It was mailed and mimeographed for many years, and started emailing in this century. But we also connected the environmental community through events. So we've been hosting Earth Day off and on since 1970, so before our incorporation. We actually hosted it earlier this year, which is kind of crazy. We had 6,000 people at Discovery Green. But we also have a film, manage the Houston Green Film Series, including a local short environmental film festival, and which has been virtual, and in non-COVID times, we have a conference every year, and then help with other things like candidate forums. And, but now instead of about 24 groups, it's 100 and almost 150, and I probably have a list of maybe 80 more organizations that I know of that are doing environmental work in Houston. And so connecting these organizations with each other is more important than ever. And we play something of a unique role in connecting people from Houston who are not connected with the environmental community, connecting them. And also people who have been involved in environmental communities elsewhere, but are new to the Houston area. And so people find us, and then they find their passion. We don't have an environmental issue that's our own. We're not trying to make water quality better or air quality better. We have lots of organizations that are working to do those things. And so we just trying to strengthen their efforts, make sure the left hand knows what the right hand is doing, and that there are feet involved as well, their heads hopefully. So we've been around for quite a while, and we are a relatively small organization right now. From a tech perspective, I like pointing out that we got a grant for $1 million, not recently, in the 90s, in fact. We had a page on the website for every one of our member organizations. So it was the first web presence for most environmental organizations in the Houston region.
Cool.
And what was like $1 million for that, really? It created servers for the World Wide Web. So big room-side servers someplace that we did in partnership with NASA and Rice University.
Wow.
So little tech role for the CDC in Houston. So we do look at a lot of the issues that are kind of cross-cutting around different environmental issues. So, and it's been really exciting for me. I've been working in the environmental community for more than 20 years in Houston, not all of them for CDC, but and it's really exciting to see things that started 20 years ago. But so for me, it's really exciting to see things that I worked on in the 90s actually happening now, and it gives me a lot of hope. It can be really, really frustrating working with government entities that are working on huge projects and seem like they're going at the speed of the glacier very slowly. But to see those things happening, and I just like bringing that up, that people get very frustrated. Like they come and they're like, I hate that people put plastic bags in their recycle bins. Yeah, just give it time. It'll happen. Keep pushing. It's not going to be instantaneous. But so a lot of these things that you see with SDG, especially since we're living here in the city, and so much of what we're doing in Houston, in the urbanized areas, we're seeing expanding. And so communities that haven't had to deal with some of these issues are seeing these things even more acutely and haven't been able to react in the way the city of Houston has, just or Harris County, because we're so big. Jesse mentioned some of the big accomplishments, some significant accomplishments, the climate action plan that was approved last year, the resilience plan. Harris County is slowly kind of ramping up to do that. The city of Houston actually started working on what is effectively the climate action plan. I don't know, maybe 20 years ago, more than 15 for sure, when they started doing inventories of climate emissions in the city of Houston. And without those making lots of mistakes early on that they could learn from, they couldn't have had a proper inventory, which then informed what the city of Houston could do. And he also mentioned, for example, the city purchases a lot of its electricity from renewable sources. That came out of studies that were done 20 years ago, and they're long-term projects that include economic stimulus that allowed a lot of the wind turbines to be built out in West Texas and the infrastructure to get the electricity from there to here. So it's exciting to see things like that growing. And it's been fun watching Impact Hub Houston, January Advisors, and the Open, all of these hacking projects kind of growing and starting to see the results of those. And I can't wait to see the kind of 20-year version.
That's wonderful, Rachel. Thank you. If you could drop that link so that people know where they can sign up for the newsletter in the chat, that would be super helpful. And really appreciate you giving us that history. There's so much to learn, and if we're trying to solve problems, it's super important to look back into how things have been done so that you know what worked, what did not work, how can you iterate and bring things up to speed as you're building your solution. So thank you so much, Rachel. She'll be around as well, guys, if you want to connect with her afterwards. So guys, Carly Sessions, she is with January Advisors. Super excited to have you on today, Carly. I'll pass the floor over to you so you can give us a little bit of an update of what's going on with your team.
Okay, cool. Let me share. Right, here we go. Okay, happy to be here. My name is Carly Sessions. I'm a principal at January Advisors. We are a data science consulting firm. We work with governments and nonprofits, and we use data to help them understand the world around them. Our team utilizes research and data science and communications and advocacy skills to perform studies, understand public policy, visualize data, and help make the case for change. We also develop tools that help people discover facts for themselves. We have a lot of cool dashboards out there. With combined arms, we studied the impact of Hurricane Harvey on veterans in the region. Combined Arms collects a lot of really interesting data, and we were able to synthesize it into a report and dashboard, advocating for more resources, which is really neat. We worked with the Harris County District Clerk, studying barriers and motivators to jury service. And it turns out that people are most likely to show up to jury duty if you increase their compensation. We also maintain a dashboard of eviction cases filed using data that we gather every day from Harris County. And this work is a touch point for a lot of journalists and frequently cited in the news. With NDHP, the Network of Behavioral Health Providers, we evaluated the work of a 2-year care coordination pilot program. The program demonstrated a need for more care coordination and community navigators to guide clients through the complicated web of social services and behavioral health providers that exist in the region. And I'm really excited to say that we are hiring for a full-time with benefits project administrator. This is a remote position. We're really looking for somebody who is super duper organized, who's really great at taking notes and managing tasks, but can also see the bigger picture and help us improve our project management strategies. So if you are interested in this position, or you know someone else that might be interested in this position, then you can apply on our website. Or you can email me directly at carly@januaryadvisors.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Carly. Super excited for all the work that you guys do. You always know what to do with the data, which is what I love. I know there's a mixed group of people in the room right now. And then while we're wrapping up, if you could just stay on stage for a few more seconds. Ephraim, if you're able to come on stage, just click the green bubble at the bottom of your screen and that'll bring you up. But one of the things I wanted to note, Carly, is that there's a mixed group of people in the room right now, right? Not everybody is super tech-based, not everyone's super data-based. And awesome, we got Ephraim on. And so I think what's super important for everyone to know is that that's completely okay. And this is why it works, is because we bring this diverse group of people together that also are diverse in the experience and in the knowledge. And so I'm always saying, like, I'm not really like techie. Once y'all start throwing out these terms, I'm like, okay, hold on, like, where's Grace? But I really appreciate you being on, Carly.
Yeah, of course. I always tell people to stop telling themselves that they're not data people or tech people, because if you're interested in a specific area and you know about that area, then you really know about that data. And so I think the first thing to do is to just accept that you can learn more and you can always improve your knowledge about data. And if you know that subject matter, then that's taking you really far.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Carly. If you can go ahead and exit the stage, and Carly will be around for you to connect with her after we're done with presentations. But up next, we have Ephraim here. He's president of South Union CDC, and I'm very excited for you to tell us about your project, Ephraim, and see how ways that we can support the work that you're doing. Over to you.
Okay, thank you, Michelle, for the invitation, as well as Grace. I heard so much about what you guys are doing, and just happy to be a part, especially tonight. So I'm Ephraim Jernigan, president of South Union Community Development, and I want to share a little bit, but I'm saddened that I have to give a disclaimer, because I'm going to speak about some chain of events, and you'll see what I mean. But I've been running a program called the STEM Foundation for 12 years now. And that's a Saturday program that introduces inner city 3rd to 12th grade kids to STEM education. So in those 12 years, we pretty much package STEM in a way that they can absorb it. We'd have presentations every Saturday from industry partners. We would take a field trip out to the industry once a month. And so that program grew to an opportunity to partner with Dory Wolf of Wolf Energy. And we presented an idea called Sunnyside Energy to the C40 Reinventing Cities competition. This was back in 2017. Our project was basically designed to take a 240-acre landfill, which is a lot of Houston dumped on Sunnyside. This is the community in which I grew up in. And so I had an opportunity to create a project that would turn a dump into a destination. And C40 is really an international competition. So when I say destination, I mean anybody from all over the world will know about the project and come to see it. So this all happened in 2017, but I had a mishap in my life, 2018. I worked for one of the chemical plants, and one day you go to work just doing your regular work, but I was exposed just like the other people a couple of weeks ago. And so I went home different than when I went in. So I ended up having a stroke. There's 3 spots on my brain, and my memory is not what it used to be. So I've gone from being this super unnatural guy to being a normal guy or whatever I am, but I have this on my plate. And so now that this momentum was already set in motion and everybody knows I'm behind the reins, I built a team to help it come a reality. But bearing in mind, right now I feel like David and I have Goliath, you know, telling me that I'm not this, I'm not that. So I'm gonna tell the Sunshine and Sunnyside story with that in mind. That when all of this was designed out, I was a normal person without having a stroke. I've had a stroke, and we are still making the dream become a reality. So Sunshine and Sunnyside has grown to have a summer camp in 2019. And with this summer camp, we took the opportunity to package solar that's coming in agriculture in a way that 3rd to 12th graders would understand, senior citizens would understand, and most importantly, that a community that's ranked 18 in crime can understand and be a part of, and therefore economic development can happen. Sunnyside really needs positive change, and this is it. And so as we started this journey in 2017, We did the 2019 summer camp and we were successful. So we decided in the midst of the pandemic coming to a close that we would do a 2021 summer camp, and we did so. We were successful. Out of 28 kids, not a single kid or adult caught COVID, but we introduced the kids to some things that to me have left an impact in their lives, and they've left an impact in mine. I'm going to speak of their impact. I did not know how to TikTok 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. So the kids taught me how to TikTok, and so a lot of what we were doing, they were creating videos, and so they introduced me to TikTok. I go on and I see all of what they're learning, and so now it's still our connection. Okay, another thing. The summer camp was really based on 4 developments that are going to happen in Sunnyside as part of our Sunshine and Sunnyside program. The solar outdoor classroom was built in 2018 after we put solar on my birth home. My parents still live it to this day, and they are without an electric bill.
Yay.
So we built the solar outdoor classroom, which has solar ground mounts, which is what everyone will see on the 240 acres. So we built all of this so the community can come by, they can see what's coming. So we built a solar outdoor classroom, and we had the vision to take an outdoor application, which it was hot and it was rainy this summer. And we had the idea to build a solar indoor classroom. Well, the indoor classroom is going to be built out of shipping containers so that we can go inside and we can have agriculture growing in a greenhouse, aquaponics with our fish protected from the elements. Secondly, we'll have a computer lab and we'll have a kitchen. If we teach you how to grow healthy, we might as well teach you how to eat and cook healthy. So then there's the indoor classroom. And the last one, or the next to the last one, is our community garden. So we took one of our properties in this block and we made a garden with the kids, and we put it directly across the street from low to moderate income apartment complex. And we're designing a solar array that's going to be a tracker. So it'll be pointing to the east in the morning. At noontime, it'll be flat. And then in the evening time, it'll be pointing to the west. So people ask, why did you do tracking? I want to attract attention so that I can teach. Oh, we do. So that tracking system will draw low to moderate income people so that we can train them, because we know that a lot of economic development is coming, so we want them to be a part of it. So number 4, directly across from the 240 acres, God allowed us to have a godfather that passed away a couple of years ago. He was a veteran, so am I. And so we decided to do veteran housing that would have solar, agriculture, and a little bit of small livestock. But the most important part is that we would take shipping containers and make veteran housing. Those veterans would do the solar, the agriculture, and the livestock, and they would walk across the street and maintain the solar farm, the agricultural hub, and the community solar that's coming to that 240 acres. So those 4 programs were added into the summer camp so that we can get youth familiar with it, so that we could create a feeder pattern from junior high school to Worthing being the high school to HCC, Prairie View, U of H, Texas Southern, and create that pipeline towards certification degrees for the future jobs. Now, we also knew that there are people in Sunnyside that may have made a mistake, may have been in the system. They can't go to HCC or none of the universities. So on September 13th at the Sunnyside Community Center, we're going to start a solar class for 18, I don't care how old you are, if you're 18 and up and you want to learn and get the future jobs, you're welcome. It's going to be 6:30 to 9 o'clock on Mondays for 10 weeks at the Sunnyside Community Center. We're going to teach you what solar is, how to do a solar ground mount, how to do a roof application, how to do tracking. And so we're hoping that these people from Sunnyside will learn and become a part of the solar farm and the agricultural hub that's going to bring economic development to Sunnyside. Last point, we have in our vision to bring a grocery store to Sunnyside as well. There's 8 acres on cover that we want to use the same concept of using shipping containers to create a grocery store that'll have cattle, it'll have lamb, sheep, and wine. We'll take grapes and grow wine. I'm a spiritual guy, but Jesus made wine, so I don't have a problem with wine. And then, so in the next couple of minutes, let me explain a little bit about the agricultural hub, which is a 2-story development of 14 shipping containers that will be on the solar farm property. That process will be aquaponics with the use of fish with water circulating to grow plants so that Sunnyside, which is a food desert, will no longer be a food desert. And so that will be a destination like the Impact Hub, the Ion, we hope it to be, that people can come all over and learn and be a part of that process. The third component of the solar farm is community solar. Now, with a name like Sunnyside, we wanted to have 2 megawatts of energy produced in the community that's designated to the community. Senior citizens, people that are struggling, should not have to struggle to have lights or electricity in a community that has a 50 megawatt solar farm. So we're creating a way to where we can meet their electrical needs in a positive way. Now, we want 60% of that to go to Sunnyside, 40% probably can go to the rest of the Center Point District. Okay. Let me see, am I missing? Oh, I wanted to say also that we are an international program. I know I heard Jesse talk about their reach internationally, and so did CEC. But we have a component called GEEK, and GEEK stands for Global Education Exchange Coalition. That coalition is inclusive of Los Angeles, Washington, D.C., Nashville, Tennessee, Cleveland, Ohio is coming online, and we have about 3 partners in South Africa. We even have some in Rwanda, and we're trying to add India. So the GEEK program meets on the 3rd Saturday of every month, and it's 9 o'clock to 10:30, and we basically educate these kids about STEAM. In 2018, we actually went, it was about 86 of us, and we went over and we gave 100 solar lamps to the community called Cliptown, where Mandela signed the proclamation to, So we spent a week over there, and we called the event Steam the Block. We came back, and in 2020, we did Steam the Block in DC. We actually had a concert in Houston called Steam the Block in Houston. And so that project, GEEK, really needs the support so that we can take these 3rd and 12th grade kids, keep them steamed up so that they can finish school, go to college, and be successful. So I'll close with what our mission statement is. Our mission statement is simply sowing seeds of success. I'm not going to stop. I'm going to continue to help humanity, especially the community of Sunnyside. Thank you so much.
Evrim, I just need to applause because you see all the emojis, but you can't hear the applause. Thank you so much for the work that you are doing. But I think what's super important is how can people help? Like, what are those areas of support that you need? And then how do people follow up with you to offer their support?
I think the best way is you can reach out to me on our website, www.southunioncdc.org, or I'm open to people coming out to the solar outdoor classroom, and let's just sit down and let's strategize success. And so any way it's possible, and I'll put my email in.
Oh, there it goes. Action, thanks for beating me. I was looking for the website. Action got it down. Perfect. She put the website, and then if you want to drop your email, you can do that as well. But thank you so much. What we're going to do now is, so that anyone that actually wants to speak with Ephraim or any of our other speakers, I want you to make sure you have an opportunity to do that now. So what we're going to do is that we're going to go ahead and break for collaboration. And Ephraim, again, thank you so much for joining us and for sharing about your project. For all of our guest speakers, we just really appreciate all the work that you're doing. And then lastly, we are gearing up for, if you guys saw the merger, Impact Hub Houston and Sketch City, we are officially one. I'll drop the press release here in case you didn't have an opportunity to read those details, but we're super excited to continue the Sketch City work and legacy as part of Impact Hub Houston, and particularly as part of Code for Houston. And so I'll be dropping a link to that information in the chat, and it'll give you details about the Houston Hackathon that's coming up, the Climathon, and future open project night opportunities as well.